You do something bad to us, we are going to do things to you that have never been done before.
What the is that, dude?
Well, g'day, folks. How are you? Hope you're having a pretty good sort of a Thursday, regardless of where you are. It's been bloody warm in southeast Queensland, I can tell you. Parts of the state, not that I've seen the whole thing today, but parts of the state were expecting 37. It was 34 degrees out here, just outside the front door, and it was probably about 30 degrees or 32 degrees inside here for most of the day. Thankfully, I wasn't in here most of the day. I was out in the warmer heat. Does that make much sense? Anyway, had a few things to accomplish around here with the goats. Funnily enough, we're still missing 7. We will get the bastards, don't you worry. And there are a few other things happening around the property at the moment that I have to clean up before I disappear on a very short road trip. I'm heading away tomorrow afternoon and won't be back until the wee small hours of Monday morning. There will be an opportunity for me to do potentially a live, but it will be during the day, maybe Sunday afternoon or later in the day when we're driving home. Where we are going is out of reception range for everything. I'm not taking Starlink, and I won't be able to do much on Saturday through Sunday. But tomorrow night, depending on where we are and at what time we are, we might be pulling over to get a bite to eat or something. I will try and put something together. Conversely, I'm trying to get, I will try very hard to get a hold of the lady that wrote the letter to the Courier Mail, who I doubt will publish any of it. Tony, her name is, from the Cooktown Ratepayers Association. Well, there's another R in there too, Residents and Ratepayers, I think. She wrote a very good letter in support of the arguments of no fluoride in their system. And at the moment, if the council pushes forward, it'll be or has pushed forward, will be one of the minorities in the state that have bothered to do so. 77 councils, I think, or 71. I think there are only 25 that are fully fluoridated, and you probably find most of those are in and around Brisbane and the Gold Coast. So the regional councils are now saying, well, we don't have the money for that kind of thing. State government's saying, oh, well, yeah, we'll fund it. The residents are saying, we don't want it. So council is being the rock in a hard place at the moment, or between a rock and a hard place. So all I can do is say, keep up the good work, and I'll try and get a hold of Tony and we'll record something tomorrow morning. And I will have that to play tomorrow night for you at any rate. Should be an interesting chat to find out exactly what's been going on up in far north Queensland. They hide a lot from us in far north Queensland, you know, folks. I'm not talking about the good people that tell me what's going on up there. I'm talking about the government, state and federal. They hide a lot. Why? Well, because it's so far from anywhere and so difficult unless you have a plane or a helicopter to actually oversee. A lot of people go into strange places in four-wheel drives, but, you know, they're old tracks, new tracks. Some tracks are created not to be found, if you know what I mean, particularly up along the Gulf. So a lot happens in far north Queensland that we are completely unaware of, a lot of illegality. And it's great to know that there is a My Place up that way. There is a very active citizens organisation, local group that are all over their local council about the issues at hand. And hopefully I'll be able to get a hold of Tony and we'll record something tomorrow. So I've got something to play should I not be able to be in a service area tomorrow night to do something. I'm not really in much of a position to talk to you about why I'm going south, but I might be able to do that Sunday or certainly Monday. And of that, I'm sure there will be some interest. I'm hoping we dodge these storms through New South Wales. I'll just leap into the chat. I don't know if Sandy is in there yet, but I was just speaking to Sandy before we went to air. Cass is on the road coming back from Canberra at the moment, towing a trailer with a whole heap of stuff on it, and was coming through Newcastle, and everything went off. And when I say everything, I mean everything. Mobile phone service down. All the traffic lights went down. FPOS services went down. CB radio services went down. It was like the end of the world has happened. Now, I've got to say, it was radio silence there for quite some time, over an hour before Cass was able to regain any reception for her car radio or her mobile phone or the two-way radio that she was using with the car that she's traveling in concert with. And, yeah, a little weirdness going on there. So what's happened? Well, storms is what we're being told, and judging by the sound of what Sandy was telling me, in the last 24 hours or so, from last night and all day today, all last night, all day today, it is absolutely been pouring down in that sort of region around Newcastle and north. So a lot of water in the system, and that is the reason that's being touted at the moment for the outage. Could well be the case. Something sticks in my head with this. How does a number of independent systems like the radio, the local FM and AM radio services are not connected in any way, shape or form to the traffic light system? The traffic light system isn't connected in any way, shape or form to the two-way CB radio network. The CB radio network isn't in any way connected to the FPOS network. I'm wondering how all of these services, all of these very large, very significant parts of infrastructure all managed to go off at exactly the same time. It could be that water went in and got into a place maybe it shouldn't have gone, but I don't know. It's a little weird, don't you think? And Williamtown Air Force Base just happens to be on the northern edge of town. Just a coincidence? That's all I'm saying, folks. Purely coincidental. I do not think anything else. I raise it only for entertainment purposes. Speaking of entertainment purposes, I had a special guest, an unexpected special guest, turn up today. Would you like to have a look? Up the shed, making a little bit of room for some more stuff, and look what I find. All right, so we got old mate out. Now we just want him to come into this bag, which he might do if we give him a chance. Come on, mate. Come inside it. Come in. There you go. No, he's gone under it.
Yeah, you want me to hold it?
You hold. Oh yeah, can you do that?
Is that still?
It should still be recording. There you go. Just drop him in. There you are, buddy.
Beautiful.
All right, we'll take him away. All right, folks. I don't know if this is actually bloody working. Can't see if this is a video or not. Anyway, here's a military base. And this is what I generally do with these blokes, meaning these blokes, when I get them. So we'll put him out down here. There we go. The bloody spider web over me. There's a ripper. And we'll try and encourage him to go through the fence. And there he goes. And inside the army base there, provided he doesn't stumble across a live bomb or a laser hazard, he should live a very happy life until the tree he's hanging in explodes unexplainably. Yeah, you get the idea, don't you? At any rate, one good 2 metre, very healthy carpet python is on her way home, or his way. I don't quite know which way it worked. I forgot to have a look at its bits, so to speak. Andrew, you're absolutely right. It does sound like everything got jammed in Newcastle. That was my immediate reaction to the way it was explained to me, of all these things going off at the same time. And they all are independent of each other, unless there is some conjunction I am unaware of. Power on the internet also went down. So, well, if power went down, I can understand traffic lights going down. And if power goes down, your modems and all that go down. But your mobile phone should be able to get you connected. But if that's not working, then, yep, you are off the air 100%. Makes life a little interesting. So yes, our little snake, very gentle, very friendly. Thank you, Fern. Badum. You're the first person to do the snake joke. Well done. Yeah, so with a bit of luck, he'll live happily for a very long time over there in the army barracks, or in the army facility. With a little bit of luck, he will not wind up in one of those trees that does unexpectedly explode, which is just a little tragic. So speaking of storms, I saw in the chat that Sandy was saying lightning was almost continuous for 12 to 15 hours. We've seen storms like that here out the back that brew sort of Bow Desert, Boona, Toowoomba, and make their way across the Great Dividing Range and onto the coast, both north and south. And it is quite eerie. We had that only a couple of weeks ago, I've got to say, a massive night of storms where the lightning was constant. The weird thing was there was no thunder. It was a very, very, very weird storm. There was no rain. There was I beg your pardon, there was the occasional roll of thunder. But nothing that sort of matched up with, even when you do the counting thing, to find out how far away that lightning was from you when you saw it, and the sound gets to you, you count every second, 1 Mississippi, 2 Mississippi, or whatever it is. None of it hooked up. So, yeah, some weird stuff. But then there's weird, and then there's what happened in Los Angeles, according to this video, the day the fire started.
What the fuck?
I don't know that I can fully explain that myself, so...
What the fuck?
So I don't know if Vince is in the chat. Somebody else may have already said CGI. I haven't had enough time to look into it from that perspective deeply, but listening to the audio track of it, I would say possible, potentially. There is a loud bang at the very start of the whole thing, and then you see the fireworks sort of show inside the clouds. But what we need to do is listen very closely to the audio background.
What the fuck?
Try and listen to how all the different elements of what makes up the sound that you're hearing, listen to how they are brought into the sound, and are they brought into the overall audio production, if you like, in the right order, in the right way? Do they sound natural? And I have to say, just listening through the little system that I'm running here, sounds pretty real to me. It sounds very first-person video, the thing shaking. What was that? An interesting firework in the clouds, or something a little more NASA-like? Now, I've got to tell you, there are some interesting plans for life, the universe, and everything when Donald Trump gets into office in America. Now, we have heard a heap of, sorry, I'm just trying to upload some pictures here to show you, which I should have done in the time I was running late in. In fact, why don't I just go to a couple of those right now? Here's the first one that's come out of Melbourne. An Indian taxi driver has been jailed for sexually assaulting a passenger out of Hobart, not Melbourne, I beg your pardon. This is one of a number of serious crimes that have been committed with taxi and Uber drivers of a certain denomination, not entirely always Indian, I've got to add. But just be aware, folks, if you are using those services, keep your wits about you, and maybe 3 o'clock in the morning when you're blind drunk can have a few negative effects, which I don't know that you really want. Now, I can tell you that the Victorian police have been at it again. God, don't we love the Victorian police? Hundreds of them being investigated for child sex offences, rape and domestic violence. I kid you not. The number of them being investigated is 638, I think, from memory. Now, they've been investigated, and I dare say many have been processed through the system because this investigation has been active since 2021. So in that time frame, they've investigated over 630 officers, and I would be very interested to know what the return rate is on that. Also interesting to note that Victorian police cars are turning up at, just about anything they're required to do with "we need a pay rise" or "we deserve a pay rise" or some other form of begging and, I don't know, trying to get public support. Got to say, in Victoria, that's a big ask, boys and girls, a big ask after what you people did to the people of Victoria during the spicy cough era and beyond. I'm not going to play the video that I have loaded up here because it actually has audio on it that'll get me banned. But you know the videos. You know what the Victoria Police did to you people in Victoria. And not that you have any control over that crazy witch that's running your state right now. But you must stand up and you must tell these corrupt officers that they will never be rewarded for treating the people in the manner and state in which they did. Their cowardice at not standing up to their officers, knowing that the actions they were taking were unlawful and were designed to hurt and injure the people, will never be forgiven. You do not deserve a pay rise. You deserve a day in court. It's that simple. And thankfully, we believe that day in court will come. I know there are many good police officers. Don't get me wrong. Most of them have quit now because it's the police force in, doesn't matter what state, has been eroded to such a point where now the best we can do when it comes to encouraging new police officers to join the force is to throw the doors open to people like this bloke.
Fuck you. Good lad.
Yeah, go for it. Fuck it. Yeah.
Thank you, Western Australia. But he is but one. He is but one. So, interesting days and times ahead. There were a few other things I was going to talk about tonight, and you know what? I didn't write them down, and they've completely gone out of my head. So let me just see whether or not oh no, I'm in the wrong file. There's a couple of other things I wanted to show you, I am sure. Oh yes, this piece of. All right, so there's a bit of a glitch with the Aussie Cossacks' escape plan out of the Russian embassy. It seems that the Russian ambassador has potential to be expelled from the country, but the Cossack will be staying put now because the reported killing of the Australian prisoner of war the Russians got in Ukraine, a man who was registered to fight with the Ukrainian army, and I think a Victorian school teacher who decided to go over there and put his own life at risk for Ukraine. And if that's what he felt the urge to do, that's what he felt the urge to do. But apparently he unfortunately, quite possibly, has fallen ill while in captivity and has passed away. He may have fallen ill from a variety of different causes, but I don't know. They may have clarified it today and guaranteed and said, yes, it's happened. At any rate, that was the ticket for the Aussie Cossack to hop a plane and be part of a prisoner swap. God love him. You've really got to admire his style, and I do admire his style a great deal. He's very good at catching publicity. He's unfortunately not figured out that if he goes back to Russia, there's not going to be a great deal of publicity. So I don't know. He needs to figure a way around that, I guess. He needs to figure a way out of the embassy. He's trying to, I think, do a Julian Assange where he's claiming he's a political prisoner, but there is no political prisoner about it. While I don't agree at any point that the Aussie Cossack is guilty of particularly the last charge that they threw at him regarding assaulting an elderly gentleman who was doing exactly that to the Aussie Cossack. It is more the process that was used against him at that time. They heard that case ex parte, meaning he wasn't there. He had no time to prepare a defense. And in fact, his defense counsel, who just happened to be in the court and was leaving at the time where it was noticed that he was, we can hear that matter right now, bang, he was dragged back into the court and a decision was made. Now, and I think the Cossack was convicted and given a year in jail. I could be wrong, so don't hold me to that, but I think there was a conviction and a year in jail. Might have been more. Now, that is grossly unfair based on the evidence that I saw and all of us saw live at the time. And I think I'm pretty confident the Cossack has unedited footage available to view just about any time you want to see it. You will see that he was being attacked by an elderly gentleman and being attacked from an inferior position. He was unsure of his footing, particularly the 2 steps he had to climb to get to the Cossack, and sadly was unable to negotiate them going backwards and fell down and hit his head. There was no assault, but the Cossack was convicted of it, and that's why he's in the embassy as far as I know, because at least there he has a modicum of freedom. But by now he's spent probably twice as long in there as he ever would have in any Australian prison. He would have been able to appeal that conviction. I'm not sure why he hasn't appealed that conviction, even from where he is. His lawyer's still outside. They can make an appeal. I guess what the court would want is for the Aussie Cossack to turn up to that appeal hearing. And this could be the stick in the mud. By turning up, he would be making himself available to the court to be placed under arrest and held until they decided to deal with his case. Now, that would be very inconvenient for the Cossack at this point in time in his life, I would think. So we're probably at a bit of a stalemate. How do we fix that? I don't know. The Cossack's got friends in high places, but especially political ones. They should be able to help him out of it. Why aren't they? And I'm speaking of Craig Kelly and many others that Cossack's been working with for years. Now, why aren't they helping here? Why isn't there a way for them to say, Well, I think that's probably because the Cossacks still very much a bit like handling the rough end of a pineapple. There can be a great deal of sweetness, but you've got to get through the pricks, and they can be formidable. So good luck with that, Cossack. I really do wish you all the best, and I hope that you find a way to challenge this very unjust decision against you. I know it's an old decision, but I've never really spoken much about it. And I just think it's time now. You must be coming up close to 700 days. And I realize you're doing shows into Russia, and you're doing okay on your Telegram channels and all that sort of stuff. So it'd just be nice if you can get out again. I'd like to get the Cossack back to what he was how he started out originally. He was one of the best comedic entertainers on the tube during that time. Kept a lot of smiles on a lot of people's faces, and he's a very, very funny man. Now, of course, he's trying to be Jan Event, or someone a bit better. And good luck to him. It changed of direction, but personally, I like what he used to do, and I'd love to see him doing it again for we the people. For we the people. That's probably the big sticking point. Don't forget, folks, the treason trials are still happening February 8. Now, at the moment, there will be a new venue announced. I did explain in last night's show that this event was going to be held in conjunction with the what is ostensibly the Reckless Renewables rally people. It wasn't exactly a rally for freedom, as I think many people had termed it, but maybe the Reckless Renewable people were rallying for freedom. Essentially, it's the farmers come to town and the politicians get up and speak to them. The National Party, it turns out, organises the event, and they pulled the pin on those who were claiming to be the organisers of it all. And now their event will not go forward. Therefore, the treason trials folks who are going along for that particular protest won't be able to tag along on the back of the permit that is required to protest on those lawns in front of Parliament House. You won't get any help either from the AFP or any parliamentarians. And if you are going to have any kind of a PA system there, you have to carry it. It'll be there operating by batteries, and police have the right to take it off you, and anything else you happen to carry if you don't have a permit to do it. So at the moment, we'll be letting you know when and where the new venue for this will be. I don't expect it's going to be too far from those lawns, even if we've got to drive around in circles, stand on a corner and pass out the information as you drive past. But it won't quite be like that. But if there is, I'll see if I can arrange a coffee van somewhere so that you can at least get a coffee while you're waiting. But yeah, treason trial, February 8. Now, these are the indictments. So these aren't the trial part of this. This is the indictment process. If you are unaware of what the indictment or what an indictment is, or indeed what a grand jury is and how that is relevant to Australia in any way, shape or form, you will probably be aware of the grand juries that are held in America. Similar but very different. Is all I'll say at the moment. We want to give you some education on that, and with luck, I will be able to gain some education for you and bring that to you in next week or the week after, preferably with some people who know a much easier way of explaining it than me. But if you want to get along and help support everybody involved with the February 8 treason trials, indictments, where the indictments for, I think there are 350 indictments that will be heard or handed out. Not all of them will be read out. There'll be about a 20-minute, I believe, protest, so to speak, hearing, presentation, whatever you want to call it. And then March 8 will be the one where, if you want to come to a treason trial, and see how that works, and we will provide some education about how that's going to work in the weeks leading up to that event as well. So don't think for a moment that there's going to be pitchforks and hangman's nooses. At least I hope there won't be anything like that. And that's why the education process is so important. So please keep watching. Next week and the week after, you'll hear a lot more about the treason trials, and you'll learn a lot more about what the grand jury process is, how it is relevant to us here in Australia, and how it can help us going forward. It's going to be, something quite spectacular indeed. As for what's going on in the world with Trump and the war zones, well, what do we know about it at the moment? At the moment, we are talking about a ceasefire in Israel, or between Israel and Hamas. I'm not sure whether or not that is just for Gaza or whether or not that includes Lebanon. There is certainly no talk of a ceasefire, as far as I'm aware, in Syria, but I haven't been hearing great reports of Jewish wins in Syria recently either, so I'm not exactly sure how deeply they have plunged into Syria, or indeed whether or not they kept any of that land. I thought the plan was to, though, so we'll maybe need to look into that a little more deeply as we go forward. But interestingly, and I'll leave this up to you to figure out who you believe, Joe Biden and Donald Trump are both, claiming in part responsibility for these ceasefire negotiations being successful. These negotiations were held in Qatar, and Egypt was involved, the US, Qatar, obviously, and I want to say somewhere else. They managed to get this sorted, and now Joe Biden is claiming that it was US diplomacy that got this happening. Donald Trump is the one who actually made the announcement before anybody else. He put it out through his Truth Social page, or tweeted it on X, or whatever you do on X when it's called X. Anyway, he let it be known that these hostages would be home soon. These Israeli hostages would be home soon. Now, he didn't state whether they were alive or dead, these hostages. I believe that there are somewhere near 70 hostages still undercounted for after they were taken back on October 7, 2023 now it would be, wouldn't it? So a number of them have been confirmed as dead, but still in Gaza. So the Israelis want their living and dead compatriots back. And these people, all 70 plus of them or whatever, will be repatriated in 3 phases. And the first phase is, I think, a little bit over 30 of them coming out of the Gaza Strip. So whether they're alive or dead remains to be seen. I'm sure if they're alive, we're going to hear a lot more about it after they've been spoken to by those in authority in Israel. What's going on in Ukraine with Russia? Well, Russia seems to be building up more forces in Donetsk, and they're not being too lazy about moving out. They're not taking any more portions of Ukraine. They're just protecting what they've got, and that has always been the case. Putin has always said that you keep away from the Russian speakers and treat them as human beings, and it'll all be good. Unfortunately, Ukraine failed to do that. They persecuted those people in those areas, and that's why Russia came in to defend those folks. But it also was a very useful excuse for being able to go into the biolabs that they knew were being set up by America and Ukraine along the Russian border in those areas. It gave them the ideal excuse to go in and clean them out. And, of course, we know that if that is what happened, then fingers crossed they're working with Donald Trump. I'm very excited for what's going to happen on the 20th. And in fact, I will be back in time for that. So we'll potentially live stream that as well. That I'm talking about the inauguration. That'll be next Monday, if memory serves. So I should be back from where I'm going by then. I will probably have quite bleary eyes because we're driving non-stop, and we'll get that happening. It's going to be what happens after the inauguration, in the hours afterwards, that I think are going to be the most telling. And that will be from the executive orders that are being signed. We spoke about this the other night. I believe that there are in excess of 280 already prepared executive orders ready for his hand. You can be guaranteed they'll all be signed within an hour of him getting inside the Oval Office. Apparently, there are over 400 more lined up to come out in stages over the next 4 months. And they relate, I'm told by people who claim they might have some knowledge of these things, they relate very deeply to the security services of the United States. The three-letter agencies, the ones you know about and the ones you don't know about, and all will be revealed through those executive orders. So watch this space. Nasara Jassara, the believers in Nasara Jassara are saying that once he gets into office, with a stroke of the pen, he can instigate Nasara Jassara. If he is part of the team and that's really what's happening, then yes, that is 100% the case. I agree. With a stroke of a pen, he can shut down the fiat system and he can immediately introduce Nasara Jassara. What chaos would that create in America? Well, let's face it. The only thing he can really start is Nasara, the national setup. But by doing that, I think he will automatically kickstart Jassara, the global side of it, with all the background that's been put in, and there are many people who've been following all of the banking changes over the last few years, these new directives the banks now must follow, the ISO 20222, that they need to be compliant with, the Basel compliance. There has been a lot of changes in our financial system, and we have been told for a long time that it's all running in the background. You know, we're just watching a movie, waiting for it all to blow up. Pardon me, and the end credits to roll. And when that does, and the switch is flicked, then voila, the world will be one of abundance. And with God's blessing, that happens sooner rather than later for many of us. It's difficult to actually ascertain how many people are in hardship in this country at the moment because no one cares enough to count them. The government certainly doesn't care. The police might count how many people are sleeping out in one place or another, but it's the nature of it. You're a bit of a transient. You don't stay too long in one place because you get moved on fairly smartly, is what I'm hearing. I can tell you that in Victoria there are a number of very friendly RV-friendly towns, meaning that you can pull your caravan up in town and stay a day or two. You'll find dump sites, free dump sites. You'll find access to water and all those sort of things. I advise you to go and help out those towns. And if you can at the moment, in particular, the Grampians area of Victoria is suffering terribly. This is an area very close to my heart. I grew up in a little place just north of the Grampians. You could see them from my place. And they're a beautiful mountain range in Victoria. Not only did I grow up near them, I wound up going to school near them. I wound up taking my first 2 jobs and my 3rd job around them. So I've spent a lot of time in the Grampians, and there are a number of areas that are in need of assistance. But right now, the small community of Halls Gap needs your support. Stawell needs your support. I would suggest Dunkeld, the gateway, the southern gateway to the Grampians, probably needs your help. And Horsham, Dadswell's Bridge, little places like that. If you are unfamiliar with Dadswell's Bridge, it's the home of the big koala, who looks like he's... No, I'm not going to be degrading of the big koala. there is a big koala at Dad's Horse Bridge, right on the edge of the Grampians, and would be the first time. I don't think it was threatened this time, but the big koala has been threatened by bushfires there before. Right now, though, the people of that area, the local businesses, the small businesses in that area are on their knees. Nobody came for holidays this year because of the bushfires. And you can understand that. But these people particularly Halls Gap, which is nestled in the heart of the Grampians Mountains, right beside Lake Belfield, a water catchment area there, a huge dam, and great fishing, can I point out. A beautiful part of the world where you can hand feed kangaroos, koalas, possums, wallabies, all that sort of stuff. It's a wonderful place to camp, a wonderful place to take your family, and they have all the amenities of a small town, except at the moment because they haven't got people to go in and make use of those amenities. They were able to save Halls Gap, the town itself, and the camping areas are fine, but what they are lacking are tourists and people to come through. So if you do have a little time and you're in Victoria, or you are hitting the road after school holidays, because you know what sort of bedlam it is with kids on the road, and you're of an age where you don't want to travel with them, then consider dropping into Halls Gap in Victoria's Western District and spending a day or two and $1 or $2 in that area to help those people out. I want to say hello to Tracy Dark, who is in Stall, and I'm not sure that she watches the show. Tracy and I grew up together in Rapania, and at least until I left town. She's one of my Facebook friends, but she's a big community worker in those areas. I'm sure she'll be all over this in some way, shape or form. So to those of you down there suffering through it, my thoughts are with you, and anything we can do to help, we certainly will. The plan is to get headed south in the bus next month, and if I do get to Victoria, I will come to Halls Gap, come and spend a couple of days and do a couple of shows out of there. Might even find a few locals we can talk to and see whether or not we can't tell the story from their perspective. But if you can help out folks, by all means, please do. And that's just take a drive. It's a beautiful drive. I'm going to say 2 hours from Melbourne, maybe 2.5 hours from Melbourne, and a lovely drive. If the road is open, you can go up to a place called Zumstein's, which if you're very keen on seeing kangaroos, you'll find a horde of them up there. Well, a mob is probably the right word, isn't it? But generally, you'll find a lot of wildlife around Halls Gap as well. Hopefully, the wildlife, for what it is, got out as best it can. And I know fires have been through town before and been through those areas before. The wildlife does return, as do the tourists eventually. So what we'd like to do is try and help encourage a few more people down there. So if you can, head to Halls Gap and anywhere through the Grampians. Call in, spend $1, have lunch, maybe go camping, try and catch a fish in Lake Belfield, and enjoy yourself. Whatever you do, though, while you're out there doing it, I guess there is only one true lesson in life, and that is to avoid the dickheads on the roads at all costs, which is something I plan to do tomorrow night. Now, I will do another live tomorrow morning for you folks before I leave. I might be able to tell you a little bit more. And there may be something happening overnight that will be worth talking about. So if that happens, all good. I thought I'd share with you our unexpected visitor today. I didn't see the comments about the snake. So if there were some, I hope you enjoyed it. There are many people who do not. Tony, what a great idea. What a great idea, Tony. Yes, I don't know if the girls are watching. But I will make sure. I don't know if Darren is in the chat either. But that is exactly something we could do for the folks of Halls Gap, do a wackety event. For folks who are wondering what that is, that's the camp we went to just prior to Christmas, about 20 minutes out of Echuca along the Murray River. Beautiful part of the world. Wackety Caravan Camp Resort. Beautiful pool area, wonderful for kids. Not much service, so you can get away from life, the universe, and everything. And we injected a fair bit of money into the economy that weekend. I should say Darren Bergworth injected a lot of money into the economy that weekend, all the runs he was doing into Echuca to the bottle shop. But we could do the same. And the run is only across the road in Halls Gap to the bottle shop from memory. So, Tony, great idea. Let's put that forward in the right circles, and we might be able to arrange that in February, maybe late February. And when I can get down that way, I would love to do that. That would be a wonderful thing. Just having a bit of a glance through the things. G'day, Mr. Bill. Didn't realise you were in tonight. Don't forget to like and subscribe, folks, if you are watching the show. You can become a member through YouTube. And as Vince has... speaking of that, I don't have to say Vince has told me. I've just got to play this.
Hi, are you passionate about supporting independent media and social events? Voice of Freedom is dedicated to bringing you the latest happenings and things that matter. But we can't do it without your help. By donating, sponsoring, or becoming a member, you're not just supporting our mission. You're joining a community that values transparency and engagement. Your contributions allow us to continue producing high-quality content that informs and inspires. Visit VOFHQ.com to make a donation or explore sponsorship or membership opportunities. You can even donate using crypto. Together, we can amplify voices that deserve to be heard as we continue to create a vibrant platform for social change. Go to VOFHQ.com, help us to help you by joining us and making a difference today.
Hey, here's an interesting one for you, folks. The World's Fair is returning. I shit you not. Now, if you're not a little incredulous at the World's Fair return, you may be unaware of what the World's Fair has been used for previously and at different times in history. But that is the plan, either for 2025-26 or 2026 into 2027. Now, it is in aid of, or all for, America's 250th anniversary, and I'm not sure if it's the Trump team that are behind this or not, but they're planning on putting together a World's Fair. They've put up two options for the World's Fair. One where it's set up in a city, and it runs for 250 days starting July 4th, 2026. And then there is another version which they ostensibly want to run on acreage property in a few different states and have like state displays shifting through those sorts of properties. It would be for the same 250 days, but they would be rotating displays through them so that every time you went, you'd be seeing something new. And they want to do that in Dallas, amongst other places, and is the lesser preferred option. There is greater use for a World Fair that is in one place, in one city, and for a good duration of time. And 250 days is a very 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. 250 days is a fairly significant investment, or is it? What happened to all those World's Fairs that happened back in the 1900s? All of the beautiful properties they built, the walking or the moving walkways that I've shown you, the electric flying vehicles that I've shown you. All of this has disappeared in history. And interestingly, you see no children in any of those images. No children at the World's Fair at all. World's Fairs are known to have been used to attract children or parents of children who wanted to give their children a better life. And those children were ostensibly given to the authorities to do with what they will. And they were put on trains. And you can research the orphan trains. There's a lot of information on them. Where were those orphans? Well, what did they do with them? Well, we've got pictures of what they did with them, and we've seen them. Pictures of children working in mines, pictures of children working in adult jobs all through the era. Where were the adults? Because not all the adults were rich. There must have been poor adults. Why were they using children? Unless there were no adults. Just so happens that these world's fairs happen to coincide with pandemics and other natural disasters. So to see that a World's Fair is being touted for either sometime later this year in 2025 and ending on July 4, 2026, or the preferred option starting on July 4, 2026 and going 250 days into 2027. Keep your eyes open, folks. If the World's Fair gets up, hang on to your kids. I wouldn't be taking them there. Although, if you were going to take them there, let's be honest, it's a bloody long drive and a boat would be required. Sadly, there are just as many dickheads on the water.
You let one ant stand up to us, then they all might stand up. Those puny little ants outnumber us 100 to 1. And if they ever figure that out, there goes our way of life. It's not about food. It's about keeping those ants in line. That's why we're going back. Does anybody else want to stay? Let's rock!